Hello, MCU fans! Today is going to be my breakdown and review of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man episodes 9 and 10. I'll also discuss any important plot elements from the tie-in comics issues 1 through 3, but my full breakdown of issue 3 will come in a separate video. And of course, I'll break down issues 4 and 5 when those are released. And finally, at the end of the video will be a full timeline breakdown for season 1 because I think they finally nailed where it falls in the timeline. So there will be spoilers, but as long as you're okay with that, let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have a February contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. You could win a book or a steelbook. Best of luck. And we have a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check it out in case you're interested. All right, so we start with episode 9's awesome comic book cover. That's clearly an homage to Spectacular Spider-Man number 215, and I love this detail. In his hand, he's holding Spider-Man's costume, but on his tail is Spider-Man's costume in one case and Lonnie's jacket in the other. Very, very cool. All right, so we start with Octavius complaining about the Sokovia Accords, calling it incomprehensible drivel. He also mentions 117 countries have signed on, just like in the Civil War movie. So then Norman shows up to troll him. Hey, Otto, it's been a while. He reminds him, of course, it's Iron Man that put him away, and then even says, I've never even been a fan of Stark. In fact, neither of them are really a fan of Stark. But then he says, everything you've ever designed now belongs to Oscorp. And in fact, you're going to rot away in a cell that I put you in. And then Octavius basically rage quits. He breaks the glass and shouts, mark my words, Osborn, I'm going to get you for this. So yeah, they are definitely setting up a huge showdown between Octavius and Osborn in the next season. Sure enough, all of Octavius's tech is being taken. And then look who shows up. It's the 1/10 gang. They're going to steal that tech so they can get back at the Scorpions. Basically, by the time the police know what hit them, we'll have more weapons than Stark. So Donovan says, just watch and learn, kid. So he rams the police car into a fire hydrant, yikes, and then they trap the Osborn truck so it can't go anywhere. But hold that thought, because first we need to talk about Nico and Pearl, who are drawing closer and closer together. Pearl hugs Nico and says, we'll have to make this a regular thing. And Nico's like, yeah, I'd love that. But there's something else drawing close, and that is the runaway truck, which is now heading right for Nico. And quick public service announcement, the reason she didn't know the truck was coming is she had her AirPods on too loud. You can't have those things turned up too much or, well, you won't see a truck barreling down on top of you. So she lifts up her amulet, and I'm wondering if it was going to do something because it starts to turn purple, but it doesn't need to do anything because we see Spider-Man swinging in, and we get the awesome reveal of his brand new outfit. He stops the truck, says, Nico, are you okay? And we can see that this outfit definitely looks like the homecoming outfit that he had. I love all the little details they put into it. It just looks perfect. All right, so Spider-Man and Lonnie have a little chat, and Peter's trying to help Lonnie, saying, dude, you know you shouldn't be here. Lonnie says, Spider-Man, look, it's not what you think, but before they can finish the conversation, something happens behind Spider-Man. Now, I'm wondering, maybe his spider sense really is working because he's able to dodge this, but other times it's not seeming to work. So maybe he just hasn't figured it out yet. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on what's going on with his spider sense. But regardless, he ducks in time. Notice the tail doesn't hit him, thank goodness. And the Scorpion says, looks like the 1/10 decided to throw a little party. So he's ready to take care of him. But I love this. Spider-Man has a panic attack. That is so real. I mean, he almost died last time he fought Scorpion. So he ducks out, right? I'm head out. He's too nervous to do anything. And because of that, the Scorpion almost kills Donovan. You lost your respect, your turf, and you're about to lose your life. Well, luckily for Donovan, Spider-Man saves him. But as he looks around and realizes, all our guys are dying out here, what are you going to do about it? He's like, I'm getting out of here. So yeah, he deserts the gang, leaving the door open for Lonnie to take over. So Lonnie jumps in the Oscorp truck trying to find anything he can use as a weapon. He accidentally spills a canister of Diox 3, which in the comics is how he ultimately became Tombstone. And for now, he's using it for good, because when the Scorpion tries to impale him, instead his tail actually cracks and breaks, because now Lonnie has Tombstone's rock-hard skin. So they're both shocked, right? Both Scorpion and Spider-Man are like, what? And I love how they do these panels throughout the series. So innovative and clever. Anyway, Lonnie's really happy. He says, my turn, and temporarily knocks out the Scorpion. Dude just keeps getting up. But yeah, that means Lonnie is definitely on his path to becoming Tombstone. So, for now though, he's a hero. He and Spider-Man are working together. They once again punch out the Scorpion, which I thought that was great. And it's just so fun to see them hanging out together. But boy, they're going to be fighting each other before long. All right, so the Scorpion gets up again and knocks down all this construction equipment to seemingly crush, Lonnie. And that sends Spider-Man over the edge because the Scorpion taunts him. Oh, what's wrong? Did your little friend get squished? And now all those words Norman told him come flashing back. You're holding yourself back. Embrace your true power of your abilities. That's the level I need Spider-Man at. That's the level I need you at. And the last time, you almost died because you held back and he didn't. With great power comes great respect. Oh man. So yeah, Peter nearly loses it. Similar to how he almost killed the Goblin in No Way Home, this also reminded me of U.S. Agent losing it. Of course, U.S. Agent actually killed the dude, but thank goodness Lonnie jumps in to stop Spider-Man from making a very bad mistake. I mean, he was moments away from killing Scorpion. So now it ends up being Lonnie giving advice to Spider-Man, saying you don't want to be like him. People look up to you. Don't throw that away, which is just crazy. You're like, Lonnie, take your own advice. Please, please turn away from the gang. It's just crazy. But anyway, he's not going to. We'll see that later. But both Spider-Man and Lonnie bolt away, and Spider-Man now runs into Nico, who of course he saved just moments ago, and you wonder, are they going to have a moment? I mean, this looks so much like MJ and Spider-Man kissing in the first Spider-Man movie, right? But no, that's not how it ends here, because Nico punches him. I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, she realizes she's been wrong for being mad at Peter for not telling his secret. She says, I can't imagine all the stress and responsibility you're taking on. So he says, and just so you know, I promise, no more secrets. And I think that's what makes Nico really feel like she's been hypocritical, right? Because she is clearly keeping secrets from Peter. And we'll learn a little bit more about that in the next episode. All right, so then we get a reminder of Lonnie's accident because Norman notices that the Diox 3 is one of the broken vials, but he says, it's just a broken vial here or there. No big deal. Really big deal, obviously. Then this does not sound good because Norman says, I wish we had 100 Spider-Man. Yeesh. But then he gives him a nice little pep talk. He says, with all your talents, you could easily do whatever you please. There's going to be moments where you stray. Everyone does. But you found your way back. So it's so hard to figure Norman out. One moment he's giving this awesome pep talk. Another moment he's giving terrible, terrible advice. It's just wild. Anyway, now it's time for a status update. So he wants to hear what everyone's working on, all his scientists. So we learn that the former Octavius tech has been unloaded and categorized. We also learned that the gyroscopics in the glider prototype are steadily improving following the recent field test. I'm telling you, he's going to be riding that thing next season, probably. And we see that they're experimenting on spiders, and this is not good, right? They believe that they will be able to successfully replicate Spider-Man's unique DNA structure in no time. We'll see what happens with this spider in the next episode, obviously. And Norman sure does look like he's descending into villainy as he puts his hands together and says, splendid. Not good at all. All right, so on to the finale, episode 10, another really nice comic book cover. And we see that the football team needs a new quarterback. We'll be having some tryouts over summer for a number of positions, including quarterback. Hope to see some new faces out there. So yeah, this is just confirming Lonnie has completely given up on high school, his career as a football player, everything. Man, so tragic. And then we see that Pearl needs Peter to get to class because they have to do their science presentation. And notice Emma on the left, complete deadbeat, right? She hasn't helped at all through this entire presentation. But then when Peter shows up with the broken diorama, it's Emma who just starts reciting this perfect explanation of what the diorama means, what the project is, and she even ends by saying, and follow me, and takes a shot for her social media. I just thought that was so funny. Way to go, Emma. You're a rock star. All right, so then we learn what Norman has been up to with all these interns and their projects. Amadeus explains he created a mechanical frame capable of suspending an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Of course, we learned about that way back in the Thor movie. An Einstein-Rosen bridge is a theoretical connection between two different points of space-time. And Jane just summarizes, it's a wormhole. And we saw an Einstein-Rosen bridge in the Fantastic Four trailer right here on the chalkboard. Notice there's a wormhole. Enter here, exit there. Although, interestingly, if you brighten it up, Reed seems to be using it to go to another universe, which is down in the lower right-hand corner. So maybe you can use a wormhole for multiversal travel, but at least in this case, they're just using it to travel across space. So Amadeus says, yeah, I figured what we were doing a long time ago, Chief. So Amadeus is really kissing up to Norman. Man, that dude. He says it's a gateway, people, to outer space. So then Norman explains, together we've unlocked faster than light travel. Instant matter relocation. The limitless resources of the galaxy are now at our fingertips. So then I think this is interesting. He says, we've already seen this type of technology utilized on Earth, just not by humanity. Then he name drops Thor's arrival in New Mexico and the Shatari invaders in New York. So, at least in Norman's mind, both of those were wormholes. Of course, we know the one in Thor was. I hadn't thought about the Shatari invaders as being a wormhole, but I guess it really was, right? And he says there are reports of an unidentified attack that left Midtown High in ruins. So now we know that Norman thinks the first episode's craziness was because of a wormhole. We're going to find out that is not what it was. So he says there are beings that can traverse space in an instant, and now we can too. But hold the phone, not so fast. We see a sling ring portal appear, and in comes Doctor Strange. On behalf of the sorcerers of the world, I'm putting an end to this. So I'm really curious how he knew what was going on. That means he's been watching Norman Osborn closely as well. Everybody's got their eye on Norman. Doctor Strange, Daredevil, man, that dude, he is raising a lot of suspicions. Anyway, Peter says, it's you. You're the guy from Midtown. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was never there. So now we start to realize there is going to be some time travel stuff going on here, right? But anyway, they turn the device on against everyone's wishes, and Norman says breathtaking. See? Congratulations, everyone. Perfectly safe and no unimaginable horrors. Which, of course, means time for an unimaginable horror to appear. Yes, we indeed get that symbiote from the first episode. Crazy. So Peter says, how? How is this happening again? Which is interesting because from Doctor Strange's perspective, it's never happened. This is just crazy. Time travel, man. Time travel. So then Spider-Man enters the room saying, my name's Spider-Man. Steven says, I'm Strange, leading to, wow, that's no more strange than the gooey alien trying to kill us. That is an excellent callback to my favorite joke from the first Doctor Strange movie. How long have you been at Kamar-Taj, Mr. Doctor? Mr. Doctor. No, it's Strange. Maybe. Who am I to judge? I just love that. It is so well done. Anyway, Spider-Man joins the fight and even briefly ends up in the dark dimension. That was really sweet. But then Doctor Strange tries to contain the symbiote, who manages to break out of his spell. That is impressive. And I gotta say, this has always bugged me. Way back in the 80s, during the Acts of Vengeance crossover, Quasar briefly, and I do mean briefly, battles Venom, and they totally nerf him. Quasar immediately captures him with his light constructs. Darn it, Venom could have done this and escaped from that darn thing and kicked Quasar's butt. But no, he's captured, sent away, and Quasar's like, well, that wasn't very hard. Ugh, always bugged me. Anyway, Doctor Strange starts to use the Time Stone, and unfortunately the symbiote hits it at the same moment. Thus, the sling ring portal he opens becomes a time portal, leading, of course, back to episode 1, but I should have guessed it. Look at that thing. It's not just a regular sling ring portal. It had the green coloring. That was our big hint that it was a time portal as well. Crazy. So, of course, that leads to Doctor Strange fighting the symbiote, crashing up Midtown High, and realizing, oh my goodness, we're not supposed to be here. But then the craziest element is Peter ends up being his own origin story, right? Because those spiders that have been injected with his own blood then crawl across this beam, lower themselves in the portal, and of course they're going to end up biting him. But I do wonder, see Spider-Man standing over there? What if he had stuck his head through that portal just to see what was going on? Wouldn't that have been wild? Anyway, Spider then lowers itself through the portal and, of course, bites Spider-Man, meaning he gave himself his own spider powers with his own blood. It's crazy. I mean, it's just like in Miss Marvel's season where the bangle gets hit, she goes back in time and ends up saving her great-great-grandmother, which is the only reason she even exists in the first place. Yes, same thing here, where Peter is the reason that he exists because of his own blood. Oh, my goodness. I don't like closed loops, I admit it, but this one was pretty clever. This one was really clever. Anyway, time to send this thing home, right? So Doctor Strange comes back through the time portal, and now he's ready to send him through, but we see a whole bunch more symbiotes trying to break out. And is it just me, or did that remind you of the Web of Shadows game? It looks really similar. Anyway, the symbiote breaks loose again, so Spider-Man says, look, I get it. You came to visit, and you're loving New York, but you gotta go home, man. That is so clever, right? It's the same line that Miles said to Peter B. Parker in Into the Spider-Verse. I love all these awesome Easter eggs. All right, so it is time to send this thing home, right? So Doctor Strange uses a spell to close off the portal while Spider-Man tries to destroy it once and for all. Unfortunately, Doctor Strange's spell wears off, but Spider-Man does destroy it, but not before a little bit of the symbiote goo manages to sneak through. So yeah, that is going to become a problem. All right, so we see in the aftermath that things are not going well for Norman. His company is in hot water for everything that went on. But when Norman goes back in to clean things up, maybe things are starting to go his way because he's the one that finds the goo. We all thought that was going to attach to Peter. No, Norman finds it. So is it going to attach to Norman, or is he going to experiment on it? I can't wait to see what happens with that. All right, so now Spider-Man and Doctor Strange decompress and talk through everything that's happened. Spider-Man says, I believe that things that are supposed to happen always find a way to happen. And boy, doesn't that just sound like Into the Spider-Verse with the canon events, including, of course, him being bitten by a radioactive spider, even if in this case, it took a closed loop to do it. Crazy. Anyway, Doctor Strange then says, what'd you say your name was again? And he starts to say Peter, but catches himself and says, oh, I mean Spider-Man. And Doctor Strange says, good save, kid, which is a nice callback to him earlier saying, good save, kid, which from Peter's standpoint was months ago, but from Doctor Strange's standpoint was, basically 10 minutes ago. Craziness. Anyway, Spider-Man says, if that necklace can take you to the past, you've probably also been to the future too, right? So could you tell me what to expect? And I love this. Doctor Strange says, even if I knew, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but something tells me you're ready. That's awesome. So it's almost like the completion of his origin story, even though no one has said, with great power comes great responsibility. But yeah, he is finally ready to be Spider-Man, and I think that's the reason the Watcher is appearing, because he has fully become Spider-Man. The canon event has now occurred, even though it took that closed loop to do it. So yeah, if I were the Watcher, I would be interested in how that all went down as well. All right, so then Nico suggests that Harry create a new company, since, of course, his dad's company has fallen apart. Why don't you create a company to do just what you said? You can hire young, hungry geniuses like Peter and his friend turns. So, sure enough, Harry decides he's going to do it. And this list of names, oh my gosh, so many Easter eggs. So some of them actually work at Marvel, but from a comic book standpoint, we have Scott Forbes, a special FBI agent who is actually involved in an Inhumans storyline. We have Max Dillon, Electro, right? Duh. We have Tia Miranda, who worked at Genius in Action Research Labs, aka Girl. We have Priya, who also worked at Girl and has her own set of superpowers. She has botanopy. I'm sure I said that wrong, but that's the ability to control plants. We have Ned Leeds, who of course has been the guy in the chair, but also has been a supervillain. So it'll be interesting to see if Hobgoblin shows up in the later seasons. We have Tiberius, who's a scientist who actually formed Alchemax. Of course, Spider-Man 2099, right? But he's also a friend of Iron Man. We have Kaiden, who's a mutant with the power of time acceleration, which lets her speed her own time up, which effectively slows everybody else's time down. We have Ripley, who actually becomes the superhero Star and actually merged with a reality stone. So she has reality-altering powers. Goodness. And of course, she was a member of the Thunderbolts. And we have Diane Jenkins. So she's an ESU student that pretended to be Spider-Woman and managed to get herself killed in the process. So I can't wait to see what they're going to do with her. But man, all these Easter eggs are insane. And that includes his very familiar-sounding company name, WEB, or Worldwide Engineering Brigade. We have actually seen that before, and that showed up in the Disney Park theme rides. Notice there's Worldwide Engineering Brigade. So all of these rides that are Marvel-themed are part of the same amusement park universe. And actually, you can check out a video I've done on that if you're interested. But I think that's really cool. And then keep in mind, there is a future ride coming, the King Thanos ride, and look who's going to be a part of that. Yep. It's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So it all ties together. I love this so much. All right, so we see that Asha has decided to join Harry's company. On the other hand, Amadeus has decided to delete it and to stay with Osborn. That is not going to end well, I guarantee. And we see that Jean will be joining as well, although Jean's secrets are now fully revealed. Looks like she is working with Daredevil. That is so cool. And notice he refers to her as Finesse. That is her superhero name. She says, I already infiltrated one company, why not do another one? And in fact, here she is in her superhero outfit from the comics. She is basically Taskmaster's daughter in the comics, meaning that she has Taskmaster's ability to replicate everyone's fighting skills. So really interested to see what they're going to do with her next season. And we even see that Lonnie has gotten an invite. He says it's something that will look great on my transcript as he crushes this brick. He says, yeah, at the very least, it will help with community college. And notice his fingers are starting to turn gray, just like in the comics. So that's going to be really interesting to see what he ends up looking like in next season. We see that he says he wants to get some more studying in before the GED test. But he's also got some other things going on because he has now officially taken over the 1/10th. He says it's time to find the 1/10th a new spot. In fact, he even throws away his letter jacket. He has given up on his old life. In fact, that reminds me a ton of the Spider-Man No More, right? Same thing where Spider-Man threw his costume in the trash. Lonnie has basically thrown his life into the trash. So tragic. All right, then we learned something more about Nico's secret. She's got her room all decked out there. She's lit some candles. She puts the amulet in the middle of this star image. And in Latin, she says, "Spirit of the one I hold dear, return to the land of the living." Interesting. And sure enough, we see something rising up. And then she says in English, "It's so good to see you again, Mom." So interestingly, she only brought her mom back, not her dad, but I'm sure she has a closer relationship with her mom. That's understandable. But let me know your thoughts. Is her mom dead and she's bringing her spirit back? Or is her mom actually trapped in the amulet? Because remember, we earlier saw that the amulet helped her. She even spoke to the amulet. So I think there's something more going on here than just calling a spirit from the dead. Anyway, very, very interesting. And then we see that Octavius is plotting his revenge, and that is an awful lot of arms. I count 8 total arms there. Oh my word. All right, so then huge deal here. We see May is paying a visit to the jail, and someone is saying, "I gotta say, I did not expect you to come." But then he says, "Let's get down to brass tacks," passes forward a picture, which we can see here, and then we see on his jacket, R. Parker for Richard Parker, and he says, "How's my son doing?" Oh my word. All right, so obviously Richard Parker is Peter's dad, and we've seen him both in the comics and in the Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's movies. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him here. But even crazier, he's actually voiced by Josh Keaton, the Spectacular Spider-Man himself, right? That is so cool. Really, really interested to see where they go with this in the next season. Then we also see Clev making yet another sneaky cameo. Way to go, Clev. You're the man. And then we see Spider-Man heading confidently into his future. He says, "Whatever comes next, you can handle it. And even if you can't, I'll figure it out because I'm Spider-Man." I love how he then swings into the camera. Makes me totally think of the end of the first Tobey Maguire movie where he said, "I'm Spider-Man." And of course does that epic landing on the flagpole at the end. So great way to end this first season. So incredible. All right, so now let's put the official timeline placement. So remember, we learned that he was in junior high in May of 2014. So if he's in junior high then we know that when he was a freshman in high school, it's the fall of 2015, which in real life at least puts us in September 9th of 2015. Then we know the story jumps a few months later, and that's what the comic books are covering. In fact, the comics cover just a few weeks of that time span, but the question is, how many months later? I think we finally have an answer. So there were some misleading hints. I mean, we see they're playing football, which at least in the real world happens in the fall, ends before November. And even in the comics, we see Peter trying out for JV football, and that would be in the September timeframe. So it really seemed like we were in the fall. We even get Pearl, who's on the swim team, and swimming happens in the fall. And we got this Experience Haunted New York Tours sign on a bus, and we see it again in the final episode. So everything was really leaning towards a fall timeframe. However, this is really important. We saw in one of the episodes 3 past due bills on rent. And in the comics, it turned out that Peter paid up Aunt May's rent because when he fought Crusher Hogan, he talked about the back rent's not going to pay itself and the loser's purse is 0. In other words, he's got to win the fight so he can pay off her rent. So we know at least 3 months went by, and I want to give a huge thanks to Randomdom for pointing that out. So from a timeline standpoint, we moved at least 3 months forward. The weather honestly does look more spring-like than fall-like. And then we got this timeline hint that maybe we're in the January to late March timeframe because they're watching The Bachelor. And at least in the real world, The Bachelor starts in January, runs 10 episodes, and ends in late March. In fact, here they are in a later episode, still watching The Bachelor, where May says, "I swear to you, Peter, if Matthew eliminates Tracy." And then we keep getting these hints we're in spring because we see these posters for Bluefin Breakdown number 2, which is listed as coming in spring of 2016. Here again, we saw it in episode 9. And then we finally get our definitive hint because Nico says, "I saw a hero," referring to Peter, "the same one that saved me last year at Midtown." Okay, thank you. So they have confirmed we're not in fall, we're in the spring because everything that happened in the first episode was last year. All right, I guess they must just have football and swimming in the spring in this universe. That's fine, that works. So I'm going to officially go with a September of 2015 for the first episode, or the beginning of that. And then we jump a few months later to March of 2016. And that really works pretty well because that puts us around the same time frame as when Civil War happened in the main MCU. So let me know your thoughts on whether you think that timeline looks right, but that's what I'm going to go with. So the good news is we are getting a season 2 and a season 3. I'm so excited. So let me know your thoughts. What did you like about this season? What are you excited about for the seasons to come? And of course, I will be breaking down the final 3 tie-in comics. Look for a video really soon for issue number 3, and of course, issue 4 and 5 when those finally drop. So don't forget, February contest, be a subscriber, leave a comment, win a book or a steelbook, and there's that membership option in case you're interested in that. And then I always love to mention the Discord. Here we are in the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man spoiler section. We have a spoiler section for all the new things that come out, so we can jump in right after they release and chat about them. So we have 2,000 members across the globe, conversations 24/7, and I will leave a pinned comment so you can join us. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, the ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.